Here we go, and you are?
DavidCoon.
And listen, I came here, I just want you to educate me. Do we got a problem with Point Lepreau being where it is? After Japan and all that?
Well, there was quite a debate, you know, when they were building Point Lepreau about whether it should be built
You were around, you've been around about 100 years.
And, and I'm only 23. You know, in fact, there was the seismologist who was the consultant, one of the consultants on Point Lepreau, resigned over the argument about what standards they should build Point Lepreau to, what kind of earthquake they should build to withstand. So it was quite a... So that's forgotten by a lot of people.
The 70s, what did they say?
And so they built it to withstand an earthquake of about 6.2, I think.
You were around.
And
what did they say? What did they say?
A long time.
What did they say?
Well, the actual fault that it's sitting on hasn't been active for about 10,000 years. The fault next door in Oak Bay that runs out through the Bay of Fundy past it has been active. In fact, in Rothsay there was an earthquake about 5.7 on the Richter scale. I'm not sure how long ago now, but as a result, likely of that Oak Bay fault. And certainly it was always so they had equipment.
That's about 60 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess that, to me, the earthquake's really not the issue. One of the things that's interesting that we learned from Japan is, well, one thing is that, you know, nuclear power cannot be made safe. All they can do is reduce the risk of an accident, and how much they reduce the risk depends on how much money they're willing to spend to do that. And at some point they stop spending money to reduce the risk because it gets too expensive. Interestingly enough, in figuring out where that point is, NB Power puts and all companies who have nuclear power plants puts a value on human life. They put a value on the life of their workers and the value on the life of the public to figure out how much they should spend on safety, essentially. But the interesting thing I think we learned from Japan is that where the radioactive waste is stored in the pools is not very well protected. In other words, it doesn't seem to have the same backup systems that the nuclear reactor itself does. So if the pool drains, you got a big problem, as we're seeing in Japan. The radioactive waste starts to melt and break up, and you catch fire. You get radioactive substances going into there's plutonium in that stuff going into the air, and it's going into the air because you don't have the same kind of containment, the kind of thick covering over those pools filled with radioactive waste that is required around the reactor itself. So you don't have the level of protection that you have around the reactor, and that's something that's obviously going to have to be addressed by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission.
Listen, educate me. Why would the Japanese build a nuclear plant on an island? I mean, if there's a problem at Point Lepreau, we can move somewhere else in Canada, whatever. Let's just say. In Japan, there's nowhere to go.
I think they made a decision a long time ago as a company that was rapidly industrializing that they didn't want to be as dependent on foreign oil and other sources of fuel as they were. They're an island and they have very few of their own resources. They're dependent on most of many things from away. So that made their decision
easier
to build nuclear power plants easier for them in the sense that they wanted large amounts of power, but they didn't want to depend on importing fuels, and the renewable sources of power that at that time certainly weren't as advanced as they are today.
How many nuclear power plants is there in that country?
Well, it provides about 30% of the electricity, the same as in New Brunswick when Lepreau used to operate. It provided about 30%, and that's more or less pretty close to what's the case in Ontario, about 30%. So it's, you know, percentage-wise similar, but they have, I think they have 50 reactors altogether. Not plants, but reactors, because as we saw in the one that's had the accident, there are many reactors in a single plant.
So what should the government do with Point Lepreau here in this province? I know what you like to do, which is to see done, but
well, it's
common sense.
It's still in pieces. It's still torn apart. So let's just turn the project into a decommissioning project. That will take years, and lots of people have work out of that. And we can develop expertise in decommissioning nuclear reactors, which I expect there's going to be more demand for. And those workers can, sell their expertise around the world. So let's do it. Not many reactors have been decommissioned. The one in Canada that they mothballed, the very first one that was commercial, they've just turned the key and walked away. Essentially, they haven't tried to decommission it. So let's do it here. And we're getting along fine without Point Lepreau, obviously. You can go over to your light switch, turn it on, the lights come on. And so I hope people notice that. So that's what I think should happen.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Because it's going to come to a time, now people are panicking, and they want to shut down their nuclear plant, and if we're years ahead, we could sell our expertise.
And we've already done the most dangerous piece of work, and that's to tear apart the very radioactive reactor. And so now it's just all the other work to decommission it.
And then we take NB Power, we sell it to Quebec.
Quebec, wherever. I mean,
I'm laughing here.
You could, but no, it's true. I mean, you could create an arm of NB Power in a sense to go around the world decommissioning nuclear power.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of money there.
There will be, yes.
This is a good idea. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.